Welcome to another episode in this Quantum Human Summit series. This is expanding multidimensional consciousness, awareness. And my guest today is a channel of Archangel Gabriel, and he has expanded his multidimensional awareness, showing us how we connect into higher realms as well and connect to the information that awaits us as we expand our multidimensional awareness. Today, we're talking about state of union within, taking over the reins in 2024. Hi, Peter. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Lauren. Thank you for having me. This is such a pleasure to do these summits and conversations with you. It's just the finger on the pulse, what's coming through in our personal lives and what we're sharing with the collective is always spot on, and it's assisting and mirroring for all of us, me included. You know what I mean? So this is really a gift that's being shared on multiple levels, you know?
Yes, it's a wonderful gift. And as we're talking about being a quantum human and expanding our multidimensional awareness, you have already expanded multidimensional awareness. That's why you are a beautiful channel that you are. So what can you say for those who are watching about how they expand multidimensional awareness and what it means to be a quantum human in your definition?
Wonderful question. It comes down to reaching I mean, first of all, anyone who's listening to this now are not just ready, you know, but they are actually consciously participating as well. Otherwise, you know, it wouldn't be magnetizing the listeners, the viewers, you know, to this material. So it's important to kind of recognize that self-acknowledgement. So it's really when we start to take the driver's seat, you know, elevating ourselves from being on the ground in the separation into coming into the wheelhouse or into, you know, the control room of our ship or our awareness, our consciousness, our taking responsibility and showing up daily, making better choices, and also recognizing what's not in alignment. So it's learning to navigate vibrationally through our frequencies, recognizing that our voice, our intentions, our consciousness is being broadcasted out anywhere we go at all times. So utilizing the breath, utilizing, you know, the awareness that we are in charge, so to speak, meaning that we can slow things down, we can speed things up. We have to just communicate with the universe. So if we are operating from any fear or any separation or any linear time based on past experiences, how we did things 5 years ago, 1 year ago, last week, all of that, we become more naked. There's less and less ego involved. So that comes into the second part of your question, into what does that mean as being fully realized. The self-realization, where we become, eventually we become the questionnaire and the teacher answering the questions. We reach that state where we're not looking for the answers on the outside any longer. So we're allowing ourselves to be in that vibration of stillness, where we are able to, and then there's no chase, there's no momentum that drive us to necessarily make us better, because it's more of a connecting with the perfection of the blueprint, coming into that view and seeing and recognizing everything as frequency and as vibration. And that takes us into that, you know, the phases leading up to this, which I think is important to mention and kind of set the stage, is that, you know, the feminine, the masculine, the separation, the human life experience that we all signed up for to be a part of, you know, is that we have both parts within, and we have past lives as female or male, and now we representing one of them in this lifetime for the most part. But recognizing frequencies and that coming into that golden ratios to the golden triangle, the tones is that, the female consciousness frequency and the male frequency, the awakened ones, but all of them actually, they are in different dimensions, different frequencies, so to speak, different consciousness. But if you're looking at, you're having headphones on, you're hearing the male frequency through one ear and the female frequency through the other ear, and then you are bridging those together, like the binary tone, the 528 hertz, that's the combination of the two, where the two different frequencies, the two-dimensional consciousnesses are creating a third one, which is creating the Holy Grail frequency and vibration. Then we are able to tap into a different template, a different dimensional existence. So it is leading up to that is recognizing where there's distortions within the field of each one within the individual. So we're both masculine, we're both feminine, so fully recognizing and fully embodying that and bring that into the field, identifying any distortions, any wants, any needs, any insecurities, any lacks, any separation, any disease, and then transmute that within, really stepping up. And it takes time, for that human experience to unfold, that involvement we did sign up for. So coming back into that, the unified field of consciousness is that we start looking at it as not being separate any longer, like we're both at the same time, we're fully embodying it, and allowing that is also the unified field of unconditional love as well, the sacred heart frequency coming through, start vibrating and communicating and creating from that space.
I love how you put that and shared that channeled message. It really is beautiful to think about the male and the female in each ear like binaural beats. And so allowing that to become the one voice in our head. Wow. Do you ever find, I don't know if it's a war, but how would you blend it? How would you blend those two voices so that we are in the driver's seat, but that we are in a state of union instead of at war? We've been saying that, we can feel in the past couple of years being at war between our head and our heart, that if we follow our heart knows the way. But now we're talking about the masculine and the feminine within us. And so how do we blend those two? How do we blend those two voices? What's at task here?
Well, we don't treat them as separate. That's the key. So it's really changing the belief systems behind that, acknowledging, observing oneself. Where am I reacting from? How am I showing up? Because it's really about finding that balance. In the third and fourth dimension, they can't operate without each other because they're dependent on that, sending the ball back and forth. One is good at the womb space, one is good at planting the seeds, one is they're serving different purposes throughout those dimensional realms. So is that we acknowledge all of that, we embody all of that, we observe, and we activate and start remembering the purpose for that. So also seeing the dysfunctions within that for the advancement, how that also there's a love, it can be holding us back. Because if we are attached in an unhealthy and unbalanced way, then we are feeding the separation and we are not self-sufficient. And it is coming into this naked space, operating, without the ego, that we're very vulnerable, because we're not used to, being that in that surrendered state to that extent. So we will be going in and out of that for a while, but it's really like identifying what is the divine feminine, what is the divine masculine, and then try to perfect both. But it's really like, it's not about perfection as much, it's just a word being used there. It's really about coming and applying the unconditional love to either, and then unifying them together, and you are the unifying force. So that is the holy grail that is represented within us, is that when we reach that state, like you are acknowledging that these two frequencies together in perfect harmony, creating the whole, right? So they can't operating without them, leaving up to it, but then become like a holy trinity. So it's like it becomes one. It's a unified creation that have its own momentum, and it just expands. So it's like a spear kind of field of light and energy, because it's so pure and it's limitless and it's non-linear, and just continuously expanding into new and creating new universes within. So the travel, the navigating towards that is, the soul assignment, the mastery phases we are going through. But that is like, this is why part of the title to the 2024, taking the reins back, is that there's a huge group of us, who is now have cleared so much that we're able to then tap into the foundational underlying templates. There's layers upon layers that took years to clear, the matrix programming, the exposure, the open portals, doorways, all of that, giving our powers away. And now reaching that, you can say the bare bottom, where actually the underlying systems of frequencies or templates that fed all these other layers of distortion are now being alchemized. So we are gaining access into that, and that will make a permanent shift and change in the frequency bandwidth and in consciousness of the entire planet in our life existence. So first, we one by one, we're getting really good at identifying, observing where we are giving our power away in the physical, personal life, but then eventually reaching that stage where we are clearing it for the whole. And there's so many of us now reaching that state that it's uncharted territory, first of all. So not to our remembrance, so it really is like exploring and being the player one, in our life experience, really committing to the course, like knowing this is the end of one, this is a re-beginning, it's a rebirth, and us being the pioneers, traversing, into this new territory, this new golden land, heaven and earth, whatever we want to call it, as we're creating this new world. And this underlying template shift, identifying it is mind-blowing, at first, is that when you get that low and then kind of see how it's like the underlying matrix, so to speak, that's just sending out a million different messages, but you get down to the core message, and then start dissolving that one, because it's the existence of the whole, the old, if that makes sense.
Wow, it does. And it explains, it does explain so much of what we've been through personally in the last couple of years, where, we are learning to surrender. We are learning how to self-regulate. We are learning how to calm ourselves down. We are learning how to be our guide within ourselves, not looking outside for answers, not looking to others for answers. It seems like we're honing those skills, cultivating those skills, and getting better at it as we go along. And so we're navigating the frequencies. I love that phrase. And I think that's a key phrase to bring up here, as really being quantum is a frequency, actually. It is a frequency. And so realizing we don't want to feel that way anymore. If something makes us feel off center or out of alignment, then you're right. We are in the driver's seat and we can take the reins and steer it a different direction. So it really is beautiful. So the key then, when we're listening, identifying the masculine and the feminine voices within our head and navigating the frequencies, it comes to a point where we're done with the triggers. We're going to be done with the triggers eventually. As we know, the triggers are an opportunity to go deeper. But when we're done with the triggers, that's that new template opening up. I know we all want that right now, but we have to clean house before we can get to that new template, right? So it's kind of scary for some if we're losing the old world, surrendering and letting the old world fall away. What's in its place? How do we fuel the timelines? We fuel it simply with our love and our attention for unconditional love in the face of everything. So let me ask you that question. How do we navigate?
That's a wonderful, amazing, beautiful question. As we navigate, we take notes and we connect the dots. So that's really the key here, like being that mission and driving force behind, traversing through these different phases of consciousness. And like you mentioned too, it's like this is so important is that, maintaining that frequency, that consciousness, that everything is here for a reason. And it's all vibration, it's all frequency. Seeing and navigating through life with through that lens, allows us then to not look at things as being good and bad or whatever is perceived or decided or agreed upon in the old collective, which we were a representation of and a blueprint of or activation of, embodiment of. So now coming into that space where we're seeing everything as either distortion or harmony, but we're not treating it as through fear. So we're not navigating it as necessarily getting away from that. We're seeing everything as opportunity for growth, and it's going to benefit. It's always going to benefit me. So living in that present moment where there's no lack, there's no separation, meaning that we're not connecting to the past, we're not connecting to the future, we're just being fully present in the present moment. That allows us to tap in and being in that vulnerable, organic, pure state where there won't be any triggers because there's no recorded history that we have to align with or adhere to. Like it's really we are creating moving forward. You know what I mean? And it's really not foreign. It's in the present. Everything's here right now. It's always going to be in the now moment. So learning how to bring all of our attention, all our energy back. And yes, there is, as we're going through the fourth dimension, there is some boundaries that needs to happen for us to clear those attachments and that connection, attachment to the old self, and relationships have to go through a renaissance, because it's like in a revolution, it's like it just simply can't be in the same frequency. And that also comes back to mentioning earlier, like we getting to the male, the freeway, male and female voice, you can say, but that's really also consciousness. So we're not looking at the male and the female as separate either, or as being one being better than the other. None of that. It's just simply frequency. It's just, and they represent that frequency, represent the consciousness, which represent a dimension. So you bring in the harmonized frequencies together and then allow them to co-create, fully acknowledging that, and allowing that to be the breeding ground or the foundation moving forward, and then embodying that to the full extent, and it does create a counterbalance, so to speak, you know what I mean? Because it's like perfectly aligned, and that's the unified field of consciousness. We then learn to be a frequency generator of. So through our voice, through our vibration, through our breath, we are sharing that with the world at all times. We're experiencing it ourselves in the process, which is that beautiful dancing, it's kind of like you are the director, of the symphony. You can also look at it as like if you, in the third, fourth dimension, learn to play a violin, at first you need notes, and then you learn to play Mozart, something really beautiful, but it's still, structured, right? So eventually, as you are, bringing these mediums together, these dimensions together, then you are not just a composer. You don't need any notes any longer, because you are in that flow, you are in that harmony, that symphony of the universe, of the divine blueprint is then being projected or shared through you, and everything is just in perfect tune and balance because it's just so pure.
Yes, and that really is a requirement to surrender the ego mind, to really get out of it and rise above it, all those frequencies. Again, you said bringing all of the attention back into us, being fully present in that way. And so being fully surrendered and in the present moment, there's the frequency of the present that elevates us into newer, well, it allows us to hold the frequency as you're talking about. And so we can be open to hearing our guides and our angels. That really is a powerful state to be in, the surrendering state. Again, you said, looking at everything as an opportunity for growth. And so no matter how bad it can get, if we're here in the present moment, then we're all fine, right? We're all fine. And through our multidimensional awareness, we can get the answers. So being multidimensionally aware, what does that mean? Does that mean listening to the still small voice within? Does it mean having so much trust in what your energy is bringing that you're going to be fine? It means the template of your life is orchestrated so that you can step into the beauty and the joy. And so we drop the old, we just completely surrender. We surrender the ego mind. And again, we're talking about the male and the female, the divine masculine and the divine feminine, whereas we must slow down so that we can wait for the guidance to come through, the intuition, a woman's intuition to come through. But then the masculine, the divine masculine, will carry out that mission. So it really is doing the opposite of everything that we've been taught. So we have to slow down and be very present and surrender. Any thoughts on this?
Well, you said it beautifully. It's really like, mentioned too, like there's the male, the female, there's the angels, there's the dragons, there's the ascended masters, there's the galactics, there's, you name it. Serving different purposes, but it's different aspect of the one, right? So it's really about fully embodying, everything as one. So it's the, clear release any separation, any belief systems that kept that separate, so fully identifying with it as one. You are all of it, and it is you. So communicating with it, so communicating with the angels, communicating with the voice, but you're communicating from a place of acknowledging that it is a part of you, like we are all connected, that we are all playing a part in the divine, play or puzzle, like we are doing it together, and it, for a while it seems that we are separate, right? But then we come into that unified field, and that has to happen within. So it's fully vibrationally acknowledging and vibrating. That is like seeing the beauty in you as me, seeing how you are a mirror of me. And I was just using you as an example, but it's the world, seeing that everywhere we go, when we can. And that's what I was mentioning earlier is too, there's this huge group of us now in this 2024 that's experiencing this. And this, of course, in the quantum field is already happened. And it's just putting kind of like assisting others to kind of connect those dots as well, and putting the pieces together. And that is what we all do, like parts of us is assisting other parts of us to get the bigger picture, and that accelerates things, and then allows everything to move through as one into the next experience, and of course it's an immense amount of knowledge and frequency and codes that the individual wouldn't be able to handle, and that taps into the quantum field and the unified field of consciousness. Is that when we learn to tap in as that, then we're not trying to memorize it, like you mentioned earlier too, is that in that present moment, in the now field, not operating from fear, but actually being, in essence, getting acclimatized and used to operating as such, like not knowing the answers, not knowing what's going to happen next. And there's no separation present, meaning that fear of it could go wrong, fear of doing the wrong thing, or none of those frequencies would be able to be in that consciousness, being that space at that same time. So there's nothing to fix. It's more like continuously expand and merge and create, and you can say co-create, but it's like it's that wrapping our head around that, what that really means, without trying to separate it out for for the human cognition, or logical thinking, so
Yes, yes.
not
And
separating anything any longer, unifying.
unifying within first and foremost. And what's really, really very interesting in the collective right now, for those who peek at the news or check into it, we really need to disengage. I mean, it's important to keep aware of what's going on, and we can do tremendous light work by looking at the news and doing the opposite, or sending healing energy to those who need it. But it's almost as if that whole, what we're seeing in the collective is just, I don't know when it's going to be done, but it's just an ugly representation of the deep clearing and cleansing that we as humanity are doing. And so it almost requires a disconnect from the collective. Like, don't even fuel any of those timelines with our thoughts or the lower density emotions that might come from that, because it's triggering for all of us. We could think that democracy is going to hell in a handbasket, the world is going to hell in a handbasket, but reality is we're the driver. So as we hold our vibration and feed our timelines with our love, then that's going to shift and change our world. I really feel that. And your words as you speak like this is an activation for us in this. I can totally sense that we are being activated by your words here as we're listening to them. So isn't that amazing? So the beauty within, as we listen to the voice within our head, and it's the voice of our heart, actually, then we don't need to go outside anymore. And we just fuel that. But what do you do when you've got the outside world with the seeming pressures? How do you assist people in disengaging from the timeline of the collective?
Well, depending where they're at, first of all, is less exposure to it. If you're not able to transmute it at the time, then it's just you're allowing that to distort your field, and then you're not able to get up for air, right? So depending where we're at, and mentioning 2024 again, many now ready to collapse those collective timelines. So it's not focusing on the one that's wrong, because
Okay.
that's just feeding the separation, right? Because there's no wrong. So it's all energy, it's all vibration. So it's just focusing on, being in the vibration of balance and harmony and unconditional love moving forward, and continuously just allow that to come into the field. That's how we don't feed that unwanted reality any longer. We're not ignoring it. We're just not feeding it. And we're then focusing our energy on creating something that's in harmony instead. So it comes back to the masculine and the feminine as well, because it's really about these different frequencies that didn't communicate in the same consciousness, right? So you bring those together, you bring the worlds together, you become the bridge, and that allows for that holy triangle again, the 528, the miracle tone, to then be the foundation of the frequency and the collective life experience moving forward, the new earth, where everything would be then represented, and mirrored back in that frequency. So that sounds very, I'm sure for the logical mind, it's like, well, that's great, but how's that going to help me? You know what I mean? So it's really like observing oneself. What am I allowing? Because the heart is getting louder and louder, like I mentioned, so it's trying to gently guide you. So the sooner you allow it to guide you, the less and less exposure you will have to that, because you are also the creator. And that is the conundrum, is that we're fighting something, then we created it as well. So then you can say uncreated, but it's really not that simple. It's more like we just release it entirely, so we write the history, right? Because if you vibrate in a vibration of fear, you will attract and magnetize fearful experiences and triggers towards you. So by you changing your vibration and your relationship to whatever it is, then you would start attracting that more of those experiences towards you. So that is really the key here, is, to the self-observe, how am I involved in this experience, and throughout our lives, pretty much regardless of what dimensional frequency we were in, there's been times where things were just flowing. And that's where we're kind of getting out of our own way, right? And we're just focusing on the beauty and the love, and then it was everywhere, till some kind of separation nailed itself down and planted itself, and then grew as a seed, and then created distortions in the field. And that in itself was also a learning experience, and a mastery tool. So there was nothing wrong with that, but so that allows you to come into the creator role more and more, seeing that you do create your own reality. So it's really taking the reins back, like not allowing the outside force to tell you what to think and how to react and what emotions is coming up. Because your emotion will be an indicator of what you are clearing at the moment, what you are dealing with. And emotions, talking about emotions again, like a little bit, in the 3D, 4D is connecting, is attached to something, you know what I mean? So it also brings up the core wound. So if we can navigate it as such, and we can love whatever it is we are discovering in the process of that, then that allows us to transmute it and tap in, and not being connected and embodied and controlled, ruled by that any longer. Because then we are the observing presence, you know what I mean? And it's just expanding that field of consciousness more and more, then that allows us to then not being a product of it or be controlled by it any longer.
Yeah, see, this is an activation. You are lifting our frequency as we're listening to the words that you're sharing. And so it comes up that what's happening on a physical level for us when we do this, when we fully take back our power, where we're giving our power away, where we are letting our thoughts go in the future or the past, and just being very, very present and paying attention to our emotions, knowing that our emotions are showing us what we're clearing, the lower density emotions are what we're clearing, then we're fresh and we're free. And this frequency, science is showing that this frequency is then activating our DNA. So share more with us about the DNA and the crystalline frequency that we are becoming, because there are many who watch this show that are beginning to feel these frequencies. It's almost like a plasma frequency as well. And so as we are being very present in the moment, many are reporting to feel DNA activating, and so much more. This brings on our superpowers, our abilities, our connection with our guides, archangels, ascended masters. So that's beautiful. I envision the world where the majority of people are in tune that way. And that's so beautiful, isn't it? It's so beautiful. We've been waiting for a while, but it's so beautiful because it's one heart at a time. And this is the transformation that's going on our planet. So DNA, talk more about this.
Okay. You were saying it so beautifully. It really is, it comes back to the consciousness and the choices we make, the vibration we represent, right? What we allow into our field. That decides how much of our DNA can be activated at any point, you know what I mean? So as we clear layers and layers of our old consciousness, the old separating matrix constructs, you know, that kept us hostage, so to speak, for such a long time, you know, or as part of our soul journey and experience, you know, as we are clearing more and more of that, then our field, our vibration, our resistance and our protection mechanisms are then lowering our shield, and then the incoming photonic light, gamma light, which is actually, you know, it wouldn't be coming in right now to this extent unless it was by divine design. So there's a organic process happening here too. So it brings us back to the creator, you know, and us being the representation of the divine blueprint, the creator, the source energy through us. So everything is in divine timing. And the DNA is a measuring tool, if you want, you know what I mean? It's access to higher bandwidths, higher frequencies, higher dimensions, higher levels of consciousness and remembering. And that remembering is not from the brain, the human mind remembering. It's the activation within the structures of the light body, the crystalline light body then coming online, and the sacred geometry then becoming active again. Is the ley lines of the earth, which is a mirror, the grid system, us being anchors of frequency, and us being anchors of frequencies and being antennas, so to speak, where we're receiving these frequencies coming in and these downloads, and we are personally clearing them and activating, integrating, processing, and benefiting from these activations. Then we are also anchoring these frequencies and this knowledge into the unified field, into the earth body, so to speak. So that is where it is all connecting, you know, like the more exposure we get, the more clear we become as a channel, as an anchor, as a light body, crystalline light body, the more we can handle. So that's when we are able to, then our physical body will start vibrating as in a higher frequency, where it's able to then operate and navigate within higher dimensional consciousness and life experience, you know, and communicate with beings that was then not, you know, it's out of range before, and now being in a consciousness and telepathically being the unified field, like and energetically as well, you know, we are in that creator template vibration and frequency where we are one with what we're communicating with as well. It's like, so it's the instant, is the quantum, right? So it's all happening at once. So more and more layers of those, and this is what we signed up for, you know, to have that experience in a physical body. And I mean, many said this before, and I probably said it before too, is that we are actually lucky to be here. We are the chosen ones. We are the one who had enough experience and were able to handle being in a physical body, going through all these dimensional shifts, this awakening, this ascension, this embodiment from a fully segregated, you can say, but also separated, asleep expression or embodiment into being fully realized. And it's such a soul expansion, and it's such a ride. It's such a thrill ride, you can say. And of course, we can talk our way out of that for a while, you know, but it really is, it's just such a range of frequencies and expressions and experiences that would not be able to be experienced any other way. If that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Again, I'll say it another time. This is an activation. So you really are expanding our consciousness, our awareness, but yet at the same time, you're bringing us fully present. And we can certainly feel the power in that. We can feel the harmony in that, actually. And there's no problem when we're here in this way. You know, I hear sounds outside, and sometimes those sounds could be disturbing, but in this state of surrender, there's no problem. And that's what we're all moving towards. And it comes back to oneness, doesn't it? Oneness within
It
and
does. And
oneness with everything.
I kind of want to share something a good friend of me told, texted me after a conversation last week. She wrote, one of the most precious gifts is acceptance. I have never felt judged by you at any moment, no matter what I have said or done. This is a stark contrast to how I have treated myself, and has brought me awareness and healing. So it's represent the frequency, right? And recognizing that in somebody else, that is present within yourself as well. It's when we see the world through that lens, no judgment,
Mhm.
the unified field, and also that nonlinear way of navigating it is that, there's no good, no bad necessarily. It's all just frequency, right? So seeing the best in everybody, that allows you to be in a frequency. When you then receive that back, the world will see the best in you as well, and you will not be in its distortion, you will not be navigating out of fear or seclusion or in a box,
We are becoming masters at this. And I think that in the past couple of years, I've heard from many people that they've been able to see the timelines they created from acting out of fear instead of love. And so we're getting better and better at this. It happens little by little. And this is what gives us back our power as well, because we get to choose. As you said, we get to choose. This is our place of choosing with our consciousness how we want to be and how we want to show up. And we are ultimately responsible for that frequency. So we just don't let it in. Don't let the lower in, clear it out, and just be open to those higher frequencies that are all around us. If we just tune in and feel them. Like today, we've been able to tune in and feel them. So I want to thank you for that. Very cool.
I
Very,
want to
very
jump in there and say, the listening or the choosing is the presence. It becomes the presence.
right. So let's just all hold the memory of this, hold the presence of everything, and not get distracted or distorted, and choose love in every situation. Choose the path of love and non-judgmental self-observation is a really good one. I love that phrase, non-judgmental self-observation, so we can observe where we are maybe not being in the present, but we're not judgmental on our self-observation, because we can easily even go further down in a loop by saying, oh, and judge ourselves. So I really love all of these words and phrases that you helped express today through all of us. So you've got a beautiful hour session. It's an quantum human angelic frequency tune-up session. For those who have had sessions with you, we all just love the way that you center us and get to the point. And it's such a healing conversation, really, with you. So for those who have not had a session with you, we invite everyone to do this. And if you have had another session, have another, because this is beautiful, and it's a beautiful time with Peter and Archangel Gabriel. Tell us about this one-on-one channeled session that you offer, and what are some of the benefits for people who take you up on this?
Thank you. That's a really good question. What the key is here, for each individual is that we are continuously expanding. So we're continuously also allowing more knowledge to be activated within us. So it's integrating and activating that. For some, it will be feeling like giving yourself permission, not communicate or allowing it to just sit there and wait. But also accessing what that might have been distorted in the communication, because the logical mind have its way of jumping in and then dissect it based on what was happening or experienced before, and the lack of fear or separation or victim or humanness would then kind of blur that up somewhat, you know what I mean? So really what I am doing in these sessions is that, that day, what's in the field that day, what's ready to be integrated and activated and introduced, bringing that in, bring it into harmony, and also like divinely for the individual, identify what would benefit them the most at that time, because it's an ongoing ascension and expansion. So it's like we need breadcrumbs. We need, for a while we need that, to get to, the self-empowered state. So a part of the surrender is as well is allowing that co-creation to happen. So acknowledging that, yes, we don't have all the answers yet, you know what I mean, for a while, but that excitement and that allowance, that allows us to then receive what we need to. And when we are in that frequency of acceptance and allowance, then it's not a struggle. It's more of a just allowing the flow and experiencing the divine being, actually delivered to you, and then eventually through you, where you become more and more that yourself. So really, like we did today too, is like the codes, the vibrations, the frequencies coming through, the heart-centered awareness, the want for an expansion and an elevation in consciousness for all, not just for the few chosen ones. It's like, no, it's for all of us. We're in this together. So regaining, connecting with that point of view, that kind of consciousness, within the individual. That's what I'm planting a seed, through these sessions, and it's not just through the, again, the voice and the ears and the spoken words, it's through the healing part too, like the tones, the frequencies, and then bringing them to alignment with the, sacred field, the sacred geometry, aligning the chakras in the individual, allowing the flow of energy to be non-interrupted, and continuously stay open and expand instead of contract as much, So.
Yes, and
again, it's individually it will be different, it's not, there's no cookie cutter,
And it's what makes it so healing for everyone and very personalized and customized. And so personal sessions with you and Archangel Gabriel can literally be any topic or anything where people are experiencing in their lives. It's a real high vibrational uplift. And it really does assist in blowing up the old. I love that. The old is out of here. The old belief systems, the old timelines, so that from this present unified place, we are able to feed the timelines, create the timelines purely from unconditional love. And that's what being quantum as a human means, being heart-centered and moving in that way in every moment as a masculine and feminine, divinely harmonized human. Thank you. I love that.
You're welcome. Kind of want to add to that a little bit too, because it's like the human avatar, our body is the player one in the video game of life. And there's times where, excuse me, our little figurine, is hitting a wall. Just keep walking into the wall. You know what I mean? So then it's about, gently shifting the direction, or consciously make the direction, So at first we wait till something from the outside forces us to change direction, But the more we embody and the more we allow, then we become the one who's actually controlling the joystick, and then allows us to get to higher levels, through our ascension journey. Identifying when it's a block, identifying when we're stuck, identifying when we're just feeding the problem, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Changing the direction. And that's the thing, is that, client might come with me with a long list of things. This is what happened to me. This is, this is who I am, basically, but then, assisting them in seeing it from the underlying, but this is what's available. This is what you're telling yourself, you know what I mean? So shifting, learning how to alchemize that, transmute that, and changing the focus, changing the direction of the avatar is just hitting the wall, because it's just keep feeding it. It's just like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, looping. All right. So Peter is here to assist everyone who is watching or listening in making this up level, this shift, identifying blocks that are keeping you back and overcoming them and moving forward. Peter and Archangel Gabriel are great guides for you. So please check it out and get signed up. Get signed up for a personal session with Peter. You are booking pretty close to when you're available, pretty close to when people book their or make their purchase, right? It's just a couple of weeks or so out.
It doesn't, yeah, usually, or sooner sometimes, because there's might be openings, I personally, make my calendar, of course, you know what I mean? So I only take so many clients a week, and I have them kind of, only so many a day, but there's a good balance and harmony within that. So there won't be like a month wait, anything like that. No.
Okay,
I
good.
will bring you in as soon as I can,
I know
at
people
the
are
right
excited.
divine timing,
Yes, at the right divine timing. And even if it's just a little bit of a wait, it's still worth it because of the extreme care and attention and love that we can give ourselves from a session like this.
The
So I
first
want to
step, like
thank
you mentioned, too, is if you make that purchase for yourself, then you're already putting that energy into the field that I'm ready. So then your team is actually then opening up the doors, and it's just opening up the frequencies and the energies that held you back from expanding or exploring what was available to you. So it's actually, the work starts even before the session itself, like you mentioned.
Yes, I can attest to that. Absolutely, it does. I've had a personal session. I've had a couple personal sessions with Peter, and they are extremely helpful. And that's why we encourage you to check this out and just have another person in the angelic realm look at you from the outside. It's a great facilitation because sometimes we're not always able to see issues or blocks or the looping cycles. So this is a great gift that we can give to ourselves and invest in ourselves with this. Thank you for that, Peter and Archangel Gabriel. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
So as we say goodbye, I want to thank you for the wisdom that you shared and the activation that lifted us today. We are in a different place, in a very central heart space, very present. I want to give you just a moment for final thoughts.
I love that. Thank you. The final thoughts is this is not a race. So it's really about allow yourself to be still, come into the present moment, because because of everything that's happening in the collective, and as many light workers are working on transmuting and collapsing the old, then it won't work. So it becomes less and less empowered, so it is being outphased. So not trying to hold on to it, not trying to grab on for dear life, give yourself the benefit of the doubt, allowing yourself to release that attachment to it, allowing yourself to be present, allowing yourself to believe again, allowing yourself to experience love and harmony and miracles in your life, because they have been waiting for a very long time, and they're already coming in, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. So get ready for so much more. And it's not just financial, that's just a given that we're already taken care of, we can experience and we can navigate that as we need to figure it all out, or we can just allow it to transform into the desired reality where we are focusing our heart, our mission, our voice, our consciousness on what's exciting, what's expansive, what's creative, what's loving, what's balancing, what's harmonizing, what's feeding the soul, instead of giving our power away.
I love that. And I really encourage everyone to hold that and to create in that way. It is the new earth way. And you have helped us get clear on that as well. So wonderful. We are in joy, and we are creating in harmony and peace and love, and we will get there. And don't let anyone trample their muddy boots all over your dreams. Let's say we are the ones in charge, and we feel power. That's very empowering, actually. Thank you for this.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Again, we invite you to give yourself a treat of a one-on-one session with Peter Hansen and Archangel Gabriel. You will love it. Okay. Thank you, Peter, and thank you everyone for watching. Namaste. This has been a presentation of New Earth One Network, your home for New Earth living. Access information, education, and videos on living from the heart in unity consciousness. Visit newearth1.com.